Today we're going to be reviewing Richmond meat-free sausages. So this is a thing that people have been nagging me in the comments to try for quite some time now, and I found them reduced today, so I thought here's a chance to do something that you've all been asking for. So this was reduced from £2 down to £1.54. These are 8 meat-free sausages. So there are two questions that people always bring up when I review meat-free or vegan foods. And one of them is why? Why does this product exist? The other one is, isn't it illegal to call it that when it's got no meat in it? We're going to be addressing both of those questions later in the video. But first, let's get on and have a look at this product, cook it and taste it. So the ingredients are water, rehydrated textured soya protein concentrate, wheat protein, salt, soybean oil, natural flavouring, rusk wheat, coconut oil, soya protein, lots of soya in here, chicory root fibre, methyl cellulose, natural flavouring, yeast extracts, herbs, spices, spice extracts, flavourings, colours, beetroot, safflower and salt. So there's a lot of soya in here, and I imagine some people will have a thing or two to say about that. The whole thing about soya and plant estrogens is riddled with misinformation, and I'm not even going to touch it. So anyway, let's have a look at if there's anything else on here. Nutrition information. So per 2 sausages there is 132 kilocalories, 132 calories, 4.4 grams of fat, of which 2.9 is saturates, 13.4 grams of carbohydrates, of which 0.5 grams is sugars, fibre 3.3 grams, protein 8 grams, salt 1.7 grams. 1.7 grams of salt per 2 sausages. That's quite a lot of salt. So the pack has this little thing that opens there with a recipe card. I'm not going to be following this recipe today, but another time we might. That might be interesting. And that's probably about it, apart from some blurb. It's fair to say we know a thing or two about sausages, and we should do. We've been proudly making them for over 100 years. We've now created our very own meat-free sausages, staying true to our Irish recipe everybody loves. So it just says fry in a pan with a little bit of oil. So, let's have a look at them. Well, they look a little bit artificial, but we've got to say, and here's where my bias is going to have to be declared. I'm not a massive fan of the Richmond pork sausages. I don't like them. I find them a bit too soft and a bit too smooth, basically. It's like a tube full of pate for me. They're okay. A lot of people love them. I don't actually like them very much, so I'm declaring my bias now. I'm going to try and judge this product on 3 factors. One is the similarity to Richmond pork sausages, so have they actually nailed their own recipe? Secondly, how convinced am I that these are a replacement for meat? And thirdly, just how nice they are, how nice or nasty they are. So those are the 3 factors we're going to use in judging these today, and of course those are going to be my subjective opinions. So anyway, let's get to the kitchen and get cooking. Okay, so a little bit of oil in the pan, as directed. And I guess the other factor we'll judge these on is whether they cook like regular sausages. What's the experience of cooking them like? Is that similar or different to regular sausages? Well, so just taking them out of the packet then, they don't feel quite as soft as Richmond's meat-based sausages, and they feel a little bit kind of gritty or grainy, but that's really not important at this point. So they're starting to sizzle. I'm going to cook these on a medium heat until they're brown, and hopefully until they look like regular sausages. Well, one thing that's not happening as these are cooking is they are not really puffing up like regular pork sausages do. They are starting to take a bit of colour, and they kind of look the part. And they smell kind of sausagey, so yeah, they might be alright. Okay, I would say those are more or less done now then. It's a bit hard to judge, much more so I think than it is with pork sausages, but that could just be experience. I think they're done. They haven't really changed much in consistency. They've just browned up a bit on the outside. So I think we're going to call that done. They've been cooking for 10 minutes, so they must be hot all the way through. And of course, unlike meat sausages, we're not really cooking the inside so much as just heating it. I've got a nice soft cheese-topped roll here, and we will have a generous sausage sandwich there. I'm going to try one on its own as well. So, sausage sandwich, ketchup this time, I think. So let's head back to the studio, give this a taste. Okay, so here we are. So on the cooking experience, I would say I give these a 8 out of 10. They behaved a lot like sausages, so they weren't difficult to cook. They didn't fall apart. They didn't do anything surprising or unusual. So I think we can give them an 8 out of 10 on the cooking experience. So now we're going to judge them on their similarity to Richmond sausages, on their similarity to meat, and on their just general aesthetics. So that's what they look like inside. Let's just make sure you can see that. Texture looks a little bit drier, but that does plausibly look like a pork sausage. Let's have a sniff. They kind of smell a bit grainy and mealy. So let's have a taste. Taste is actually surprisingly good. I would say actually, that if anything, let me just try that again. Yeah, I would say, okay, so in terms of their similarity to Richmond pork sausages, I'm only going to give them a 9 out of 10, but actually it really should be 11 out of 10. I think these are actually nicer than Richmond pork sausages. They're not so soft. In terms of whether they are similar to a pork sausage, yes they are. Actually they do taste like they have meat in them. I think in terms of how they stand as a meat substitute, I think I'm going to give them probably a 7 out of 10. They do taste like they got meat in them. They haven't really nailed it completely. There are some unusual flavours in there which are not pork sausage. Okay, and we'll try them as a sausage sandwich as well. So yeah, in that context, when they're in a bun, like this, as a replacement for Richmond pork sausages, really, they are at least as good as Richmond pork sausages. They're not a replacement for my favourite pork sausages, but actually they're pretty good as they go. And this may be damning with faint praise, but I've definitely had pork sausages which were worse than this. So these are the individual factor scores, with me being as objective as possible about this. My subjective overall enjoyment rating of this product, I think I can only really give it a 6 out of 10. And there are two reasons for that. One is this product just lacks a little bit of the succulence that you get from a meat-based sausage. Replacing the meat in sausages is actually surprisingly easy. Replacing the fat in sausages, not so easy. Coconut oil is a reasonably good analogue for animal fat, but it's not quite the same. And with animal fat representing a fairly high proportion of some sausages, that's a very big part of the overall succulence and eating experience of real meat sausages. So that's one factor. The other factor is that, as I previously declared, not a big fan of Richmond sausages anyway, so actually if I were going to choose a sausage, I wouldn't choose this type of sausage normally. I would normally choose something with a bit of a coarser grind on the meat and perhaps a higher meat content than Richmond has. So to address the question, why does a product like this even exist? Why do vegans try to keep making things that look like meat? Well, probably vegans don't. These are products targeting people who maybe want to reduce the amount of meat in their diet, people who are concerned about just their meat intake in general, or people who are exploring the idea of transitioning to a meat-free diet. These products exist as a bridge between the world of meat-based foods and the world of non-meat foods. Now, some people might argue that you shouldn't do that, and that you should actually go whole hog and you should celebrate vegetables for what they are. I don't disagree with that. Vegetables are great. And I think it's possible to make lovely plant-based foods that aren't trying to be meat. But for a lot of people, there's a psychological hurdle to get over here. So having a product like this enables them to tackle their challenges one step at a time. Much like nicotine patches if you're trying to give up smoking. Some people need them, other people will go cold turkey. Anyway, so that's one thing. So on the other point, which will no doubt come up, which is, should these be allowed to be called sausages if they don't contain meat? I think there's something a little bit psychotic about the idea that something had to die for it to be able to be called a sausage. That doesn't seem right to me. To my mind, I'd still be calling these sausages, even if they were full of Play-Doh. Sausage is, for me, more about the shape than it is about what's inside. And these are doubtless made of vegetable protein, but they are sausages. They're intended to be used in the same way that meat-based sausages are used. Nobody's trying to fool anybody into buying the wrong thing here. In fact, if you look, the words meat-free, apart from the brand, are the most prominent bits of text on the whole packaging. There's no passing off here or adulteration happening. Nobody's trying to say these are pork sausages and trick you into eating them, although what would that be about anyway? These are targeting a market who want something that's like a sausage, but they don't want to eat meat, and that's fair enough. I don't see a problem with calling these meat-free sausages. I would share your concern if they were just sold as sausages, but that's not happening. So that was my review of Richmond meat-free sausages. I think as a replacement for this product, they're really good. They actually nail that pretty much as well as you can without adding meat. So if you like this style of sausage, you're probably going to like the meat-free version. I'm not a huge fan of the Richmond sausages myself, so I probably won't be buying these all that often. But I think in terms of what they've attempted to do here, they have succeeded. So I hope that was useful. I look forward to your comments and suggestions for what I might try next. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.